Call please.
Chair Gary Delvaux.
Yes.
Vice Chair Matt Schuler is excused. Debbie Dean. Yes. Alder Kathy Hinkes.
Here.
Melanie Parma is excused, and Steve Service.
Here. Motion to approve the agenda. Make a motion.
Second.
Motion by Steve and second by Debbie. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. Thank you. Approval of minutes from April 9th. Kathy? Second. Second by Steve. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. Thank you. Number one, regular business, consideration of possible action on development agreement 24-04 with Nova GB LLC for the redevelopment of 221 Cherry Street. Tax parcel 12-112. Matt?
All right, so as you're all aware, we've been working with New Land Enterprises now for a while, about a year, to put together a plan to redevelop this RDA owned property at 221 Cherry Street. RDA has owned the site for quite some time, and given its location really at the epicenter of our downtown, it's really been our intention to facilitate a significant catalytic project here that's really on par with the City Deck investment, the Schreiber headquarters project, and the Northland Hotel projects that all came before. This was also demonstrated in our 2014 authenticity plan, which envisioned at least a 7-story mixed-use building here at this site to provide a mix of uses with housing and ground floor commercial space. Newland's Nova GB LLC really has presented a proposal that staff feels accomplishes that intent and vision that was set forth previously. Their proposal includes 268 market rate housing units, 4,850 square feet of commercial space on the ground floor, an internal parking ramp to accommodate their residents. This is a project that has a hard construction budget of $55 million. And if you factor in soft costs on top of that, we're actually looking at closer to 70 million. Today, that property generates $0 in tax revenue for the city. Our assessor estimates that after construction of this project, it will create an additional $38 million in new property value, which generates about $735,000 in total gross real estate taxes annually. The developer has requested TIF assistance and has demonstrated a financial gap in their pro forma, confirming that the project meets that but-for test as required by state law. But for this TIF assistance, the project would not proceed. Their request includes the transfer of the RDA owned property for $1. They've requested a loan, a TIF loan in the amount of $8.5 million. The loan would be repaid by the tax increments generated by the project. Should the property not generate enough new increment to pay that annual debt service, the developer does agree to cover any shortfall that may occur. The developer also will personally guarantee the loan. Should any additional increment be generated beyond that annual debt service payment, the developer, according to our development agreement now, would be entitled to 95% of any additional increment through a pay-go TIF incentive to cover eligible expenditures, and the city would be entitled to the remaining 5%. That's through the life of the TIF district. This could be a very new TIF district. We would anticipate that coming forward here to be online for this year, and it would have a 27-year run. So be a really TIF district. Again, staff sees this as a catalytic project. We do not often see projects like this through RDO that have values of $38 million and higher. And considering the overall positive impacts we feel that this will have on the communities, staff is recommending approval of the development agreement. I'm happy to answer any questions that you have at this time. You know that we have received some comments from the public which have been shared with RDA. You should have copies in front of you, and there are folks that have requested to speak. Consider that also the developer is on the line. If you have any questions for them, any questions.
Before we, first I get a question for Matt. Also, with Mr. Mayor, I'd like to read your comment, please.
Yeah, just, reiterate much of what Matt said there, and thank him and Cheryl and the rest of the team at Community Economic Development, for working with New Land over these last few months, over a year, I guess, at this point, when we first reached out to them and initiated that relationship. To Matt's point, and just again, to reinforce it, rarely do we see an opportunity of this size and scale and potential come to the city of Green Bay. The Schreiber headquarters would be a good example of that. Hotel Northland, another one, and this, we think is that next chapter in downtown development, meeting the needs of the authenticity plan as well as the comp plan, in terms of focusing downtown development. As far as the product is concerned, I don't think there's anything of this quality in the Green Bay market, not just city of Green Bay, but greater Green Bay. And so to be able to host, upwards of 400 new residents in downtown Green Bay, in these units, as well as the retail space being created on the first floor here. It's a fantastic development of the highest quality and something that I wholeheartedly endorse.
Very good. I know a lot of people want to speak, so I think we'll open our meeting. Motion to open the meeting.
Motion on the
Steve?
floor.
Second by Kathy. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Okay, so name, address, and
So let's start. We have two
Yeah.
people that have requested to speak on paper and
Okay.
Rick Fisher. If you want to come on up first.
okay. Okay, so name, address, and there's a bunch of folks here, so if we can limit it to less than 2 minutes, would be great. I appreciate that. But we have a full agenda. We have 14 items on the agenda, so thank you.
Thank you, Rick. Good afternoon, I'm Rick Fisher, I'm with Fisher and Associates Architects. My address is W13654 Balsam Lake Road in Crivitz, Wisconsin. And I've been working with the Bay Lake Center on their current alterations, and they've been asked me to look at some of the impacts of the new development. And there's a number of things that need to be looked at and we're concerned about. The primary one, I think most of them are achievable. We had a great meeting with staff and the city's new plan reviewer. But one of our concerns is just exiting overall. There's 13 doors that exit to the south. And I need to provide enough exit width to exit those people safely out of that newly created space between the two buildings. So I guess my ask at this point, there's a lot of things to cover, but my ask at this point would be that Bay Lake Center would be allowed to use the 5-foot space or the space between the north side of the Newland building and their north property line, roughly 5 feet, as part of our ingress and egress. That lets us exit both ways out of that newly formed alley, and that would be big help in trying to overcome the 13 feet of width that I need for the current door exits. There's other miscellaneous things like some drifted snow load and things, but I think we can work through those with the with the developer and staff to get those things resolved. Do you have any questions for me?
No.
Right, thank you.
Your request. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next. Oh, here we go.
Under 2 minutes.
Y'all know who I am, so I put my comments down, stick to a script. Alexia Rain, 301 North Adams Street. I'm one of the condo owners within Bay Lake. While many of you guys certainly are familiar with me over the years, I feel like it's important to start by reintroducing myself. My name is Alexia. My involvement in this project goes beyond simply being a condo owner within Bay Lake City Center. I'm also just Lexi, a foster mom to 14 kids who have all endured significant trauma right here in the city limits of Green Bay. And I went on to adopt 4 of those kids. 5 years ago, my family stepped foot into Spring Lake Church's downtown campus, and since then, our lives have truly been transformed. Spring Lake isn't just a venue for weekly gatherings. It's a beacon of hope. It's a hub for outreach. It's a sanctuary where numerous nonprofits find support. And most importantly, it's where my own small children found healing. I've emphasized this before, so I'll do it again. If you want to see an activated downtown, join us on a Sunday morning. You'll witness for yourself why we are so fervently invested in attending these meetings, advocating for our right to gather and worship, and to contribute to the downtown community through care, through outreach, and through volunteerism. And once you experience it firsthand, you too would be compelled to stand alongside us in our defense of this cause, that the entrance to the church should not be obscured by a concrete barrier of a parking structure. Moreover, I am Dr. Alexia Rain, the top graduate of my doctoral cohort at the University of Southern California, where my research focused specifically on this very community and our potential to lead the charge against the affordable housing crisis that's afflicting communities and cities nationwide. My commitment to this cause remains steadfast, despite facing criticism and misunderstanding over the last few years. In just a few weeks, we will unveil a $16 million initiative to serve our community, achieved entirely without government funding. Instead, it's a grassroots effort driven by community members aimed at tackling a community issue, albeit without substantial local support from government. We have persistently pushed ahead despite public critique, sometimes even from the same officials who sent us supportive emails when we announced our project in 2021, labeling our $60 million investment as substandard and inhumane, citing concerns about natural light. We've addressed that. We doubled our natural light. We're up to over 4,300 square feet of natural light in the building. And ironically, recent discussions revealed that natural light was the least of the concerns with the 5-foot setback being proposed. So Debbie, I look at you and I urge you just to stand strong in your desire for natural light. Don't relent. And to others who perhaps use that argument and perhaps have shifted, let's look at where that distraction truly lies. I understand that the vision for downtown may not have included workforce housing, but we took vacant, abandoned commercial space and we revitalized it to bring service industry workers to where the jobs are, with a model that can support and strengthen our local economy in the process. Today, I want to challenge each of us to make decisions in line with the legacy we want to leave, to not simply do what's easy, but to slow down and do what's right. And so just a series of questions. If Spring Lake Church were instead still a bank, would we be approving a 13-foot alleyway as its main entrance? If not, where's the intersection of faith and politics? And then can you explain to me where construction, excuse me?
Wrap it up. Take your time.
Sure.
Thank you.
Can I just ask my last question and then I'll stop? Can you just help us understand with the 5 to 13-foot easement, how our front entrance would be impacted through construction fencing through the construction phase? And how we then would be able to gain access and ability to enter our buildings over the next 2 years as well? Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Next.
Anyone who would like to speak, just go on up to the podium.
Take your comment. Please. Thank you.
Hi, Bill Kennard, Habitat Gateway Collective, 301 North Adams Street. I voiced some of these concerns at the planning commission meeting last night, and it was told that some of them were not the right forum. So I thought I would share them here as well. So first, thank you for giving us the opportunity to address this board. Again, remember, we fully support the development of downtown Green Bay, and this project allows full flexibility to the project, while quite honestly stifling the businesses and properties that are around it. A year ago, the RDA notified a city center loft that there was a 30-foot no-build easement around the Bay Lake City Center building, and now they're vacating that in favor of this project. Second, every other RFP that's been put out has required that the parking spaces for the public be replaced, and now that's all being waived. Number 3, last June, Gateway Collective leadership was called into a meeting with Downtown Green Bay Incorporated and members of this board. Many of you were in attendance there, where in part you stressed the need for natural lighting into the apartments being constructed on the 2nd floor of Bay Lake City Center building. We met those concerns by adding skylights to every affected apartment unit. Now, you're looking at approving a project that will block most all natural light into all of the apartments along the south side of the entire building. There really hasn't been transparency with that new structure. Again, considering that it's 8 stories high and the first 2 stories are literally a brick wall blocking the light coming into that side of the building. How do you reconcile one with the other? Last night, the Planning Commission approved the variance from the code of 1,000 square feet of space per residential unit down there to approximately 245 square feet. They indicated that this was because they're adding space for the gatherings and socialization space on the roof. The previous 30-foot no-build easement would have allowed the addition of outdoor gatherings and socialization space. But because you're considering giving this space to the new project, it takes it all away from Bay Lake City Center. Simply rotating the project 180 degrees would resolve many of those issues for all parties involved. Again, how do you reconcile taking the space from one and giving it to another? And last, the RDA has provided plenty of opposition over the past year to Gateway Collective and enforced every single ordinance, only to now, as the owners of the property, approve all the variances and waiving them for their benefit. So again, we're asking at this point, slow the process down and come up with a resolution that really benefits everybody downtown and not sacrifices a large number of them for one project. Thank you.
Joe Van Aram, 103 South Clay Street, De Pere, Wisconsin. I come here in three different roles. I come in here as a person that has been a part of Spring Lake Church since its beginning in 1989. At one point was the chairman of the board. I come to you also as the son of a professional firefighter who worked for 30 years for the city of De Pere as a firefighter and paramedic. And I come to you as a public servant who worked for 40 years as a high school math teacher. All three of those components are wrapped in my presentation. My concern for this project is that there is a reason for the 30-foot setback. As a guy who has watched his father walk into hundreds of burning buildings, firefighters need space to get in and people need room to get out. And I have personally watched this. I have heard the stories of the firefighters of the De Pere Fire Department talk about this regularly. With only 5 feet and 13 feet as possible places to move. And with the Spring Lake Church and Gateway Collective already having a process, people will go to the doors that they are familiar with. So even if a new entrance is placed, they will go to the doors they are used to seeing in a panic situation to get out. So what you're doing is you're moving. A church is different than a bar, is different than a restaurant, is different than a home. 500 people meeting need to leave immediately when there's an emergency. They will all go to the door and they will be clogged. The people that are in the new structure, which I just heard was 480 residents, will also be looking for the nearest exits when they have an emergency. As part of my teaching, I have a great relationship with the janitorial staff. They cannot open the school unless they can keep all of the doorways open, because when a doorway gets closed, everybody has to go to the other doorways. So even if a new doorway is built, everybody needs to get out of a building in an emergency situation. That's why the 30-foot setback was established years ago. And that's why at a school, you have to keep it clear of snow because you can't have school unless those doorways are open. I don't know how you will maintain a clear doorway when we have snow in Wisconsin regularly, other than this last winter. Sorry to say that. But my concern of the project, I love the project. I love the fact that we are going forward in Green Bay, but please, for the safety of all of us, I cannot imagine having people in our church, having people in this 8-story building, not having a way to get out. I live in the lifetime of a firefighter. And when I hear those numbers of 5 feet and 13 feet, I am scared to death of the people in the 8-story building, and I'm scared to death for the people in Gateway Collective and in Spring Lake Church. I don't know how I would say to an elderly person, you have to get out of this building, and we don't have a way to get out.
All right, thank you. Thank you very much. Amen. Back to regular business. Nope.
I will. My name is Christian Jensen. I am with Gateway Collective, 301 North Adams. I want to just reiterate on some of the points that Dr. Alexi Wood shared with you all and ask a few more questions for the record about this project. Number one, do you feel that you have effectively conveyed the significant impact of the proposed development agreement on the community and downtown businesses in understandable terms, highlighted with minimal funds that will remain to support neighboring projects? Have you transparently addressed the potential personal and professional benefits of some individuals with voting power may gain from this development? Despite city assurances of cooperation with Bay Lake condo owners, the lack of a defined scope, budget, or commitment fosters fear and doubt to many in this room. When you've consistently been told you cannot ask the proposed developer to make changes, how do we feel confident there's a desire to work with us? Is the community aware the ADA accessible parking spots on the surface lot will be permanently removed, leaving individuals with disabilities to compete for street parking with able-bodied community members? Your RDA study in 2020 found 52% of renters in our community had to forego other needs in order to pay rent. While development needs to occur at all levels, it should be done should it be done at the expense of working constituents who are in desperate need of affordable housing? You have an out-of-town developer set to earn millions. And you have a local nonprofit who is not seeking a dollar, just seeking the best interest of our community. Is there room for both at the table? Thank you.
Your motion, regular business? No. Any other? I'm sorry. Okay, a motion, regular business? Steve?
You want to make a motion?
You're Steve, all in favor, saying aye. Very good. Matt, Cheryl, can you respond to something?
I guess I just took some notes. The first comment he's talking about, the ingress and egress of the unit. Since we have met with the condo association and the church separately and have asked probably later last year and then multiple times, tell us, this is your building, tell us, do the work on site to tell us what this ingress and egress means for code. We met with our plan reviewer and the condo groups, and our plan reviewer is like, I don't think it's gonna be that bad. I don't know, it's not my building, provide me that information. I'm waiting for that information, so I'm not sure if that poses an issue or not at this point. So we're still waiting for that information.
It's not our job to provide it. That's
Um,
your job to provide it.
So,
Motion, back to regular business, sorry.
so, the RFP for the parking spaces, that was the RFP that went out in 2018, 17 or 18 pre-COVID. We now have, a lot of parking spaces available in our ramps, over 1,300 spaces, plus everything on the street that will be open. So it's a different time in regards to that old RFP that went out. I don't believe there are any variances needed for this project. I think that was mentioned before. We did talk with the fire chief with regards to this project. This is a downtown development. This is urban design. So technically, all property owners can build right up to property lines, both ways. And according to our fire chief, he's like, that's not how we would go after a fire in this area. That's not, he said, this is an urban design. You don't need that space there. So I can only comment to what our fire chief is talking about with regards to fire and safety needs. The lack of defined scope, it really isn't the city's job to tell the church or the condo what needs to be done in the building. Like, it's their building. So I would hope that at some point they would tell us what it means for this building that's being built here. There was a 30-foot easement, you know the story on that for the Redevelopment Authority. We were very clear that we'd be looking at that 5-foot no-build easement from the very beginning, so that's been on the table, whole time. So, why, I can't speak to why the church constructed facing the parking lot. I don't know why that was. Yeah, I know where. Department store. You know, an urban design would orient something to the street face, not to the side. So knowing that that parking lot would be redeveloped at some point, I'm not quite sure. I think wasn't going to be redeveloped back then. So that's what I have in this one.
So, if you have any deep questions or anything?
No.
The only question, Cheryl, we've been looking at redeveloping that for many years, right?
Well, being owned by the Redevelopment Authority, the intent of the time is to redevelop. And so I think when they acquired the property way back when, I don't think that was ever secrets, that eventually this would be reconstructed.
No, I'd like, I'm sorry, go ahead, please.
When was the last time we had, project proposals on that site? And who were they from?
If, Cheryl mentioned, it was probably
2018. We had a 14-story proposal, I think, at the time. By 2 developers, maybe 3.
That's three initially, and then we narrowed down to 2. And then that didn't proceed forward.
Can I get a little bit of understanding of what the actual agenda item?
Actual agenda item is the development agreement.
Just the agreement.
Yes.
In terms of the, not necessarily the sign. Property.
So last night, I think somebody mentions that we have planning commission last night, and development was on that agenda and was recommended for approval to common council. So that,
But from a jurisdiction standpoint, the redevelopment authority is being asked about the developer agreement, that's contract language and not, right? And not that all of the comments we heard aren't important.
Right, and again, we are willing to come to the table. We've said that. But I think that maybe some of the comments make me understand.
I mean, there's a
more.
process in place, right? There's
Right.
zoning code, there's a
Right.
review from all of the municipalities and how this
Yep.
building is kept safe and how it meets all of the criteria that it needs to meet from a
Right, and-
constructability and neighbor standpoint. That's not our agenda item.
Correct. I want to throw out there though, too, though, we spoke with, Department of Public Works Director Steve Redmond yesterday as well about the closing of the streets and how that would, and that's a plan that needs to be submitted. We don't want to close any streets. There's access issues. We need to make sure that all the abutting property owners have access to their buildings. So those things come down the line once the permits are pulled and the plans are put in place for them. So we don't want to cut access to the church or any other business.
Deb, Kathy, you want to look at the development agreement? Okay.
Yep.
Any other comments from staff?
Just real quick on.
Yeah, Mayor, please.
I think Lexi was noting that there's, no public funding going into the Gateway Collective development, which I think is accurate, but at the same time, the Green Bay Housing Authority has issued bonds for that project, so there is significant public support in that sense.
Yes.
For that development. I think everybody should just,
Be aware.
understand that has taken place. There was also a comment about, natural light, which, I think was an observation made about the Gateway Collective development in earnest by a number of us.
Yes.
Shaded windows are not the same as no windows whatsoever. In an urban environment, you have a lot of adjacent buildings, windows looking out onto other property that are, included to some extent. So to equate those two situations, I think is disingenuous.
I personally think it's an excellent project. I think it's the exact type of project we need downtown. With that, though, I will entertain a motion. By the committee.
I'll make the motion to approve this.
And I'll second.
The motion by Steve, a second by Kathy. Any questions or comments in regard to the motion?
The only thing that I would add is that we, work with the church,
Yes.
especially within the alleyway. And
Well, all the condo owners really.
the condo owners, so that we are creating a safe space, and assisting with that. So there's a nice look to it. And I know Black Cat Alley was, there was a lot of questions at that in that was where a lot of the parishioners talked about that. So, I mean, that's something I think we as a city can help
That would
make
be,
it
and
more tenable.
just to be clear on that, that was something that Newland had done in Milwaukee.
Right.
These are 2 private property lines. If
Yeah.
the church does not, and the Gateway Collective, whatever is on that side, choose not to participate in that type of activation of that area, that would be up to the two parties to decide. Otherwise, it would just be two property lines with 5 foot planted and lit and whatnot on the development side.
Right, the PUD that was recommended for approval last night, did require, lighting on the side of the property. And that's for public art, so.
And public art.
And all the things I would just reinforce what you were saying, and just so, again, everybody is aware. I participated in a meeting with, the pastor of Spring Lake, as well as a number of the elders a couple Fridays ago. And
Yeah.
I felt had a constructive conversation about what some of the needs of the church and maybe some of the other condo owners might be. What I said in that meeting is if the church is interested in reorienting their front door essentially to Adams Street, we do have a facade improvement program here in the city of Green Bay, and I think there's great opportunity for us to work with them on that.
Awesome.
Okay, so there's a motion and a second. Any other questions or comments in regard to the motion? If not, I'll move in favor of the motion, please, saying aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carried. Thank you. Thank you, Bill. Agenda item number 2. Okay, item number 2, consideration of possible action to approve a planning option. East over 101 North Avenue, and 109 North Avenue, also known as
You go.
Take this one, Carrie. Okay. So everyone's familiar with our Shower and Schumacher building. And in our continuous effort to get that site redeveloped, we did receive a proposal from Investment Creations LLC, and they're requesting a 6-month planning option for both buildings, including the alley. So 109 North Adams, they are looking at doing on 2nd and 3rd floor, 3-bedroom luxury apartments with the possibility, depending on code, on a rooftop terrace. Main level would be considered a mixed-use retail, commercial type, possible cafe. And then the lower basement could be converted into the speakeasy bar that we've had many developers recommend. The 227 East Walnut is subject to future tenants. Right now, the developer is looking at separating that into 2 separate units inside the building. One could be retail, they both be retail, or one could be retail with a restaurant, possibly giving access to the alley where they could set up like a dining area for further entertainment and things like that. This developer, one of the things I just want to iterate regarding this developer is this developer does come to us with 20+ years of experience with historic buildings and rehabilitation. He's done numerous projects in the Neenah and Appleton area, some that I've gotten to see the before and after photos, which I would be more than happy to provide if needed. So at this time, staff is recommending a 6-month planning option to Umar Sheikh, who is the owner of the Investment Creations LLC, for a 6-month planning option to put together the feasibility of this project. Umar is available if you needed to open up the table and had any questions.
Can you speak third with the?
Yeah. I think move to approve.
Motion by Kathy, second by Debbie. Any questions or comments in regards to the motion? If not, all those in favor, say aye. Always exciting. I hope that's it.
Yes.
We're very excited about this.
I can't wait to see that.
These are just on this next side. Don't want to speak.
Number 3, Consideration with possible action to approve the release of River Center LLC and Stonehouse Milwaukee Inc. for their personal guarantees executed on their development agreement phase one Yonkers site project. And to approve a pilot agreement with Wisconsin Housing Preservation Corporation in relation to their purchase of property located at 335 North Washington Street, known as the Flats on the Fox development.
Back in time to the.
Yeah, right.
I know.
Agreement.
I know, I'm reading it, I'm like,
Right.
oh.
Back in 2000. So we
That's
entered into
changing.
a tri-party agreement with this group, and they built the affordable housing projects called Platinum Dots. And so a period of time has elapsed, and they would like to sell this, their building now at this point. And in order to do that, they'd like to a release of the personal guarantees. And there, we need to have a pilot agreement in place, with the new owners. We reviewed those, there's been enough increment that is approved for us to feel comfortable with recommending releasing those personal guarantees. And, I believe that the new owners are willing to go into that pilot agreement, so there'll be, payment and new taxes paid, moving forward with the new owners. Did I hit that right? Now, Rich Armstrong is here, and Rich, I think, is with the, Rich someone else.
Yeah, but Stonehouse, yes.
Stonehouse. So, Rich is here and he's asked to speak on this item, if you would mind opening the floor.
Steve,
Second.
second by Kathy, all in favor, let's say one thing, aye. All is open, good, it's here.
Here, or is he,
I'm on Zoom.
go ahead.
Go ahead, please.
Hi, well, I'm really just, yeah, I'm Rich Ernest and I'm co-owner of Stonehouse Development, and we were one of the developers for the original flats on the Fox 15 or more years ago. And, you know, we're very excited to have this opportunity to sell to a very fine group in Wisconsin Housing Preservation Corporation, who owns thousands of units of affordable housing in Wisconsin. And really their purchase of this property will allow it to remain affordable housing for the foreseeable future. So I'm really just here to say we support this and available to answer any specific questions you might have. Thank you.
Yeah, and the first question I asked Cheryl this before, what actually is gonna change from the perspective or it's our agreement with them? And Cheryl, is there anything that's actually gonna change with the new ownership?
No, I think, and Rich, maybe you can, expand on this, but I believe that the rents, I mean, it'll be the same type of, affordable housing project, right?
Yes, it'll be, yes, thank you. It'll be operated, you will see no change. As far as we know, I mean, it will be their mission. They're a housing nonprofit in Wisconsin, and their mission is to provide, you know, quality affordable housing. And that's so we're kind of securing that building. We're for-profit developers, and absent this opportunity, we would eventually sell it as market rate housing sometime in the future. So yeah, nothing should change from your standpoint, and it should continue to be a well-managed, well-maintained affordable housing developments in downtown Green Bay.
You guys, Joanne, nothing changing?
Yes.
Okay, and Steve, anyone? Any questions?
It's great that it's gonna remain,
Yes.
Absolutely.
housing for every,
Yeah.
so. and it's-
Entertain a motion.
Motion to close the floor.
Oh, yes, right, I opened it, didn't I?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's very good. All those thirteen saying aye.
Aye.
We are back to regular order of business. Thank you. Good catch, Steve. All right, motion, entertain a motion, to be here for this agenda item.
I'll make a motion to take the staff recommendation to approve these.
I'll second.
A motion by Steve, second by Kathy, questions or comments regarding the motion? If not, all in favor of the motion, please say aye. Opposed? Motion carried, thank you. All right. So number 4. Consideration of possible action to select housing developer, the redevelopment and GDS redevelopment site at 0 Line Hill Road. Tax parcel 23-243-1 and B-243-4. And there it is. Will.
Thank you. Right, so back in January, staff issued a request for proposals specifically for the housing component of the JBS redevelopment site. And again, really the primary goal of that RFP was to seek proposals which utilize the site as an innovative housing laboratory. So really going after housing models and types that are in need right now, they're lacking in our community and that there's a demand for them. Additionally, really wanting to make sure that, you know, the housing options meet current and future market demand and not readily exist within the city. So affordability, design, lot size, bedroom counts, etc. Staff received proposals from 5 qualified developers. Those were Gorman and Company, Rebel 49, Moving Outs, Greater Green Bay Habitat for Humanity, and Northern Star Companies. All 5 proposals were sent to the real estate subcommittee of the RDA. And then staff, along with the mayor's office, reviewed and scored the proposals. And though the scores weren't extremely far apart, there were definitely some aspects and qualities of 2 of the proposals that caused them to rise to the top. So Gorman and Company is a well-established name, not only in our community, but in the state and nationwide. And they submitted a very competitive proposal. Staff really appreciated their long track record of success. Also, their capacity to take on large-scale complex projects such as this is an important skill to have. And then we also appreciated is something that they were offering that is really missing right now is housing for the missing middle. So families and households that are earning between that 80% and 120% AMI. And that was definitely a great portion of the units that were designated in their proposal that they submitted, and which is something that was illustrated in the RFP, a need for this particular area and this development opportunity. And then something also staff really wanted to look for in this whole proposal is the ability to collaborate between other developers, other community partners and agencies, because we recognize that this is really a once in a lifetime opportunity to develop or redevelop 26 acres of land, that there really is a lot going on in this area between not only just the housing component, but that's one portion, right? There's the destination playground, there's the urban farm component. This is really essentially building a new neighborhood, so to say. So we understand there's multiple layers to this. We want to make sure that we're engaging developers that have that ability and recognizing, appreciate that aspect of this development project. And so then that brings us to Rebel 49 and what staff really appreciated and valued in their proposal was their attention to the demand in our community for larger unit sized housing. So not only to accommodate just plain and simply large families, but also recognizing that there's a great deal of residents in our community that live multi-generation. And so that is something that they emphasized in their development that staff really appreciated, that we're really trying to get in this redevelopment site. And then we also felt that their design that they submitted matched really well with that of Grace and staff. So that's proposed in the final concept plan for the overall site. In addition to not just the design, but their attention to public space and how that complements not only the public space for the general public as a community, but then also the public space that is going to be utilized by the residents living there on a more regular day-to-day business. And so staff decided to take the opportunity to, considering that both of these partners or both these developers are offering something that really hits or checks the boxes, so to say, in this RFP, we decided to see if there's room for them to work together. So staff engaged both Rebel 49 and Gorman Company, not only to see and test their appetite to work together collaboratively with the city on redeveloping this site, but then also to work collaboratively with local housing developers to fill the need for the single family component, homeownership component of this. You recognize that we have 2 well-experienced community partner organizations here, Habitat for Humanity and Neighbors for Green Bay, and just want to ensure that the developers proposing to redevelop this site, are willing to welcome them in as well. And they were. And so that said, really what we're looking at proposing here is engaging Gorman and Company for the development of the multifamily component in areas in development blocks D and E, and then Rebel 49 to develop the townhome and multifamily units that are being proposed for development block G and H. And this is illustrated right here, and both I would like to mention as well are part of phase one. So this project as a whole was split into two phases, and phase one includes the public amenities such as the boulevard, and we will ensure that when we're developing that boulevard, that we can have the housing go in pretty soon, close to that time. So by the time that the boulevard and that infrastructure is finished, we are well on our way to building the housing units there, and at a point where we can actually start welcoming residents into the neighborhood. So that was definitely a priority of the RFP, and both developers recognize that and are proposing developments for that phase one and then portions of phase two as well. I think that's it in a nutshell. There really was really great proposals that were submitted, and really great conversation with staff. So really, the staff is recommending to improve Gorman and Company and Roll 49 as housing co-developers for the redevelopment of the JBS redevelopment. So,
Have you ever worked together before, do you know? I'm sorry.
and Colin Price as well with Rebel 49 is here. If you'd like to open up the floor.
Okay, I'll make a motion to group for please. Steve? Debbie? All those in favor? All those in favor, same thing, aye. Floor is open, please.
Sure.
The comment. No, I think.
You go to the podium. The designated area. Ted Matkin, Wisconsin Market President, Gorman and Company, know many of you from past projects in Green Bay. We're very, very excited about this. I have not worked with Rebel 49. Previously, they sound like a great organization, looked them up. Like you said, they hit all the buttons, I think, in terms of that component.
Good.
We're real excited about our component. And the reason is we have actually done this product. We've actually R&D'd this project in our shop for the missing middle. It's really affordable by design. And it really hits all the buttons on this project of what we thought. At JBS, interestingly enough, I know exactly who JBS is. They actually give hides to my brother-in-law who has a tannery in Milwaukee. So I know their workforce, which is very interesting. And so I think this will be a great product. And we're just so ecstatic about it because I think this will be kind of a model in the country of workforce missing middle housing, because we always focus on LIHTC, as you guys all know. You guys are very familiar with that term, that acronym. That's 60% of the county median income and kind of below. And then we've got the high-end market rate, which you guys just did for new land, right? And those are great, but there's nothing in there for the 80 to 120s. And I think this really captures that spirit, and communities across the nation really need that kind of housing built, which is tough. It's tough. It's market rate housing without the tax credit and restrictions, without the tax credits.
Right.
So it's right, you're just charging less rent, it's market rate. So it does need help, but it's something that I think is sorely missed in most communities. So thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you.
Yes, good to see you.
Good to see you.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Colin Price. I'm managing partner, Rebel 49. I am super excited about this opportunity. I'm familiar with Gorman. I'm an up and coming real estate developer, Ho-Chunk Travel member. Most of my work has been with the tribes throughout Indian country, either affordable or big casino resorts. So this will be an interesting opportunity to kind of blend those experiences and track record with Gorman. So super excited, happy to meet you. I imagine we'll be spending quite a few hours and time in this together. So thank you so much.
Any questions for your developer? If not, most of their back regular business. I'll take that. Thanks. All those things, thing I. We're back to regular business. What's really exciting about the project is very often you have a clean slate. The village, this bill is going to say it's a beautiful site, and badly needed, obviously. But please, a motion.
I have
Yeah, please.
I have a process question.
Yep.
More than anything. so many entities I work with, you RFP and you make a short list and then you interview. And you just select based on that. And it's been my impression that often we head straight to selection based on RFP. Is there a reason for that?
Whether, what might be the process, the criteria?
Yeah, really, so the process with the city is we RFP, we have a scoring rubric, which I did include in your packet, we score. And if we feel that there are a lot of uncertainties or unanswered questions, or we feel that, you know what, we really should be bringing in all these developers in to interview, then we do that. And we have done that in the past with the RDA on previous projects. Staff just felt strongly in the way that these proposed, what was being proposed, that we felt comfortable just moving straight forward with the recommendation.
There were some identical follow-up questions.
There were, oh, thank you. No, thank you. There were follow-up questions that we sent to all of the developers that submitted. Just questions, one developer was dependent on tax credit award. There was another developer that, you know, included certain components in their cost that just wasn't part of the original scope. So we did communicate in between, you know, within the decision-making process to get clarity in those questions that we had. But as I mentioned, staff just felt comfortable moving forward with it.
Fair enough. Thank you.
You know, there's all that there, but-
I have another question.
Okay, please. Oh, I'm sorry, Kathy, please.
So what a bottom line number of units?
With it's, so I actually had to do a little bit of math on this because we're actually taking a little bit of one proposal and a little bit of another proposal and smashing them together. So we're looking at like 160 to 180, I believe, or was it 130 to 180? I think it's 160 to 180.
And breakdown, 1, 2s, and 3s?
No, those are really great questions. Honestly, what we did was we took what was being proposed in their developments and we kept the numbers the same. So we did not alter their unit mix at all that they proposed in the developments at all.
So there's still 32 3-bedrooms then?
That the townhome development component of Rel 49 essentially is what is being proposed, what's proposed in their proposal. It's what they're going to build, essentially.
Okay, I guess my question is, let me ask it a different way.
Right.
Do we still have any 3-bedrooms? Because I know one of the proposals had 32 units that were 3-bedroom. And that is an area for families that's a big concern, especially when we get into affordable housing. So I'm just.
I believe Gorman had the 3 bedrooms. I know that the multifamily buildings that Rebel 49 proposed is 1 and 2 bedrooms.
Right.
However, the multi-generational townhomes, those are like 4 and 5 bedrooms.
Okay, so are those townhomes fall within the 80%? Yes.
I see it close.
Okay.
Nodding.
I just want to make sure that we're not just building 1 and 2s, that we have it.
Precisely.
Because we talked about that within this committee, that we have family.
And that is why both these developers, specifically Rebel 49 as well as their inclusion in these multi-generational townhomes rose to the top, because we do hear that quite often that there are not enough 3 bedrooms, let alone 4 bedrooms.
Motion to approve as recommended to have both of the developers work together. Based on staff recommendation.
By second by Steve. Moved by Kathy, second by Steve. Any questions or comments on that motion? If not, all those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. Thank you. Excellent job. Well, it's almost pretty exciting.
Yes.
That's really excellent.
Number 5, consideration of possible action to select development partner, prepare a redevelopment proposal, the former Badger sheet metal site at 402 and 420 South Broadway. 421 Arch Street and 419 South Maple Street, certain tax parcels 3-559, 3-572, 5-574, and 2-947.
Should probably combine those lots.
Yeah. Okay, Matt, please.
11.
Yes, so, all right, I'll take this one. So Gary, you just mentioned how the JBS site is nice, clean slate.
Yes.
Badger, a little different story. All right, we're up to the challenge. As you're all familiar, the RDA has owned the Badger Sheet Metal site at 402 Thornton South Broadway. For quite a while now, we bought it, I think in 2018. And really the purpose was blight elimination. It was really part of the RDA's vision to invest in the cleanup of brownfields in that shipyard corridor that we've been working on since 2017, 2018. So we fixed that up. We've been utilizing our EPA assessment grant resources to really get a handle on what the remediation routes are there. We received a $1 million grant from EPA to clean that site up. We've been talking with developers for a while now about the redevelopment of that site. You might remember we had put this out for RFP, had a term sheet with Impact 7 and 3 Leaf at one point. Unfortunately, that project, after a couple of years of working together on it, it just implemented pan out, pencil out, we weren't able to proceed. With that project not proceeding, we really had the opportunity to reevaluate what we wanted to do with this site. The mayor, I think, and maybe others, the fire chief had identified an opportunity here to consider the potential to redevelop this site with more mixed uses than we typically do. Potentially a ground floor fire station, fire admin offices potentially, along with multifamily housing. It's unique for Green Bay, but it's not unique everywhere. We've got examples of this in other communities, really strong examples in Alexandria, Virginia, DC area, Chicago, Minneapolis. There's been an example in La Crosse, Wisconsin that was considered at one point. We see it as a great opportunity to really maximize the value of that site. We really need new fire facilities. And this just happens to be the best location for that. But why not add additional value, property value, housing to this site? So we wanted to explore that a little bit further. Rather than go out for that traditional RFP, we understood that this was a little bit more complicated. So we opted to go the RFQ route. We did a request for qualifications with the vision of let's just ask for developers to submit their qualifications to us. And we can evaluate who we would like to proceed working with. We'd actually kind of roll up our sleeves with this developer and put a proposal together. We had that RFQ out, we put it out in February. And we got 11 qualified developers to respond to it. Well, which is a very large number for us, and very strong list of qualifications. We, as staff, similar to how Will just discussed, we went through a scoring process where we evaluated the proposals. We looked at the development team's qualifications, their experience and project examples, their design approach, and the proposal quality. And through that criteria, we scored. We did this scoring along with Fire Chief Matthew Knott. And after that scoring process, the highest scoring developer was General Capital Group. So at this time, we are recommending that we proceed on partnership to work together on a design proposal to bring back to this group to consider for a future development agreement. One of the reasons why we liked General Capital is they've done a somewhat similar project. Instead of a fire station down in Milwaukee, they did a public library where they worked with Milwaukee, where the the municipality manage the library and they have the house above. They do put out a stellar product throughout Wisconsin and the country, so we are recommending that we proceed with General Capital. We do have representatives from them, from General Capital, I believe, present and on the call. If you'd like to open the floor, if you have any questions for those guys.
Yeah, I know. There's something that I don't.
Only question I have is time.
You're gonna ask that, and what did I say? Sorry, you got me a little bit caught off guard because I was so prepared for doing it. I think we were hoping to, so one of the considerations that we've got here is we have a cleanup grant in place with EPA that does have a set timeline, where we need to spend those dollars within a certain amount of time. We are hoping to start demolition and cleanup, excavations and contaminations on contaminated soils on that site here later this year, probably late this year, depending on when we can get bids out and contractor online. It might be early next year. We're still resolving that. As far as our work with General Capital, we hope to start a kickoff call as early as next week.
That's really exciting. I'm just curious when we'll see the proposal, but if
Yeah, I think,
you say within the next 6 months.
I wonder if they remember. I apologize. I think it's about 6 months. If I recall correctly.
I didn't mean to put you on. the
No,
spot like
that's,
that.
it's I knew you were gonna say.
The compliment staff for thinking outside the box. It's pretty exciting.
Yes, I think this is really exciting.
So we're gonna have to decide, I'm gonna agree with the staff proposal, that we partner with General Capital Group. That's easier. Motion we need.
Motion to partner with General Capital Group.
I just gotta say, we are missing Alder Scannell a little bit with his,
Right.
rapidity of his motions, right?
Right.
Somebody's got to step up.
Cadence.
Yes, right, keep things moving. Right. Second, Debbie, all in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye. Opposed, motion carried. Number 6.
Thanks very much.
You're welcome. Thank you. Consideration of possible action to grant a 6-month extension to Dana Capital planning option for the property located 1035 Vanderbrack Street in the parking lot of the corner of Flea and Vanderbrack Streets, tax parcel 20-350, 20-249, 20-381, 382, and 383. And Will.
Yes, thank you, Gary.
Yep.
Right, so back in November, the RDA issued a 6-month planning option to Dana Capital and Verizon Development Group to the redevelopment the 1035 Vanderbrack Street site along with the parking lot across the street from it as well. At that time, they were proposing to develop 52 affordable residential units across 2 buildings with a mix of 1, 2, and 3 bedroom layouts. During that time, the development team was trying to come up with ways to close their financial gap, put the financing together. Originally, they were looking at non-competitive 4% and 4%, and then also looking at some subsidy from the city as well, but the gap remaining was just too large. They then looked to the county because they heard that there might be some money available through Brown County for affordable housing. And at that time, there wasn't any. So then that didn't pan out as well. So this is kind of the case where really trying to find the right funding tools and mechanisms to put together to make this project work. With that, I would also like to mention from a design and development aspect, there were a couple speed bumps there as well in that staff and the city really wanted to see the inclusion of market rate units as well. So that isn't just straight affordable, that it's a mixed income development. And then again, the gap remaining, the fund that would have been requested of the city was just at that time just too large.
Bottom
So
line,
bottom line is, the Dana Capital and Horizon Development would like to pursue, the possibility of pursuing a 9%, tax credit, instead of 9%. What's great about that is that will also reduce the gap or the ask to the city, but then that will also include, require them to include market rate units, which is something that the city wanted to see, in the unit mix of this development. The position that we're in now, the way that staff looked at this is, there has to be affordable housing on that site, just with the funding source that was used to acquire it. And chances are any developer coming forward is gonna be going after those competitive 9%. So we'd be in the same situation with time frame and with the amount of effort and energy that Luke from Dana and Scott from Horizon have put into this to try to make something work. And I just want to commend them for that. I mean, they have really spent a lot of time on their end, really trying to explore ways to financially make this project pencil out. That we just want to respect that partnership that we've created with them. Allow them that 6-month planning option to put together what they would need to submit a competitive LIHTC 9% application. And then if they were able to put together what they needed to submit, then staff is also requesting a staff level approval for an additional 6 months so that it allows the review time to take place, because we wouldn't, if they submit those tax credit applications, we're not going to hear back until spring. So that would just, if they submit, then that would allow staff the opportunity to extend that funding option.
and your level of confidence is.
I feel good.
Good.
Yeah, I mean, if it doesn't, I mean, if it doesn't work.
They're gonna be
I mean,
out.
yeah, you know, you have to be optimistic. Look, I think we've all been at this table long enough now to see how fragile these affordable housing projects are. And so I think we do have to keep this level of optimism that
Yes.
the numbers are gonna come out, you know, manageable, you know. So.
Move to approve.
Motion by Kathy, second by Steve. Yeah, Debbie.
Just quick comments if I could.
Yes, please.
Thanks, Chair. Just want to thank Will for his work on this one and then JVS as well. We've been at this, for a while and, he did a nice job of summarizing some of the roadblocks they've run into. One thing that I would, urge Dana to consider potentially is that set aside that's available within the LIHTC award with respect to permanent supportive housing.
Thank you. Yep.
Really whatever's most advantageous for them to get the award is what we'd like to see, but we have a significant shortage, really non-existent supply of permanent supportive housing. And when it comes to the competitive nature of LIHTC, that is, my understanding, a set aside of that tax credit allocation and could be less competitive. So it could be a way for them to meet the need of our community with permanent supportive housing and then also be in a more competitive position.
That's a really great suggestion, and I think one that I think we would have brought up on the side of Bill, because you're right, we don't have any units of supportive housing. And we do have the service providers. We have the service provider community here that would be able to fill that need or that role of service delivery on site. So that's a really great point. Thank you, Mayor.
We have a motion, a second. All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. Thank you. Number 7, consideration of possible action to approve $40,000 of tax income district affordable housing. Ta-da.
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 Ta-da. Funding- Yeah, ta-da, I like it. Funding for the addition of one additional affordable housing unit to the project at 317 Dalton Street /240 North Broadway.
So this is the building that's on the corner of Dustin and Broadway. It's the old bank garden.
Yes.
Billy Garrett's project, and he's actually here if you have any questions for him, but he had the ability of working through this project to add an additional unit. We funded 40,000 for each of 6 units on the original plan, but he had the ability, looking at it, to create a 7th unit. So he's had some overruns in order to do that, and was just asking for some additional TDOT funding, 40,000 for that unit, which then would keep that unit affordable for a period of 10 years.
The funds are available.
Yeah, the funds are available. We have 185,000 in that pool yet, so.
Okay. Move to approve. Moved by Debbie, second by Kathy. Questions or comments? If not, all in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. Thanks. First of all, I gotta a compliment to the committee, and I know we have a full agenda, but I mean, I really appreciate you guys putting in that effort, because these are all things that are moving on a positive perspective, and so I compliment the staff, but also the committee for putting up with this lengthy meeting. Number 8, consideration of possible action to approve a 6-month planning option for the site located at 1308 East Walnut, the neighborhood works Green Bay.
Yep, that is me, Gary. RDA acquired this site back in September of 2015, and it is currently zoned OR. So for this project to move forward, developer is aware that a conditional use permit will be required. They are looking to do a 2-unit owner occupied townhome, so side by side. On there, each unit would have 3 bedrooms, 2.5 bath, and a 2-car garage. The site would be purchased for the $22,520, that which was our asking price. They do intend to request their financing through their donor supported adopt a home program. And this is also will set them up for the 24-25 bridges construction program for the school year, which I absolutely love the program. It's close to East High, this location, so it's very conducive for the development and ability for the kids there. So staff is recommending to approve the 6-month planning option.
Okay, to approve, almost in Kathy. Second by Steve. Any questions or comments? If not, all those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. You guys have been busy. I got confidence in that. We've been making a lot of neat things going on. Consideration of possible action to approve a 90-day planning option to tool service development for building of a 2-family, 2-story home at 716 Mather Street. Right.
Yep, so this property was acquired back in May of 2016. It is zoned R2, so we are looking at medium density residential, which is what they are proposing. So it's a 2-story, 2-family duplex with a 2-car garage, lower unit with 3 bedroom, 2 bath, and the upper unit with 2 bedrooms, 1 bath. The developer is offering to purchase the property at the $15,800 we have proposed out there. They are requesting a 90-day planning option to complete their due diligence and getting their financing, zoning, and permitting completed. So staff is recommending that we approve the 90-day planning option. Developer is online if there were any questions.
This is a pretty standard procedure, 90 days.
It is.
Yeah. Motion by Kathy, second by Steve. All those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye. Motion carried. Thanks. Number 10, consideration of possible action to approve a 90-day planning option to Murray Management Trust for the site located at 1127 Rieger Street. And that is on it, Jim.
Yep, it is. So this property was actually acquired to help eliminate blight and promote new development on this site. The developer is requesting a 90-day planning option, again, to use their due diligence to make sure that this property, this development does move forward without any hiccups. They are proposing a 2-story home with a 1-car garage. Developer right now has offered to purchase the lot for $11,900. They do still need to execute a vacant land offer to purchase, and they were asking us as the RDA to pay for the title insurance, clarification of a metal fence, and clarification of access to the rear of the parcel via the alley. Staff is recommending the approval of the 90-day planning option. However, we are asking for the lot to still be sold at the next $16,900. That's our assessed value that we have.
Yes.
And title insurance to be provided at the buyer's expense. I am working with the developer at this time to determine the lot next door, where that fence line is and who the actual owner of that is. So I do have a message out to that owner for clarification as well.
Yeah, move to approve with staff recommendations.
Of the 16,900.
Yep.
Okay. Motion by Debbie, second by Kathy. Questions or comments? No. All those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
The recommendation is just for a 90-day planning option.
With the additional, the price they offered was $11,900. We are requesting them to purchase at $16,900, and then they'll cover their title insurance.
All those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye. Opposed, motion carried. Thank you. Whew. We're on the give us busy. We finally got.
This is keeping us all busy.
Agenda item number 11, consideration of possible action to award community development block grant and CDBG funds for public service activities. Krista.
Okay, so this item is requesting approval to award some of our CDBG public service dollars that we budgeted annually. We went out for an application, we requested applications, open call for public service activities. We got 15 organizations that applied for them. We put an evaluation team together and we scored each one. I put the rubric in there so that you could see what we scored each application on. Based on the scores and staff, the evaluation team gave preference to organizations that have not received block grant funding in the past 5 years. So based off of the scores and that, we went down the line and we are recommending awarding the dollar amounts to the 6 organizations that we have on here, until the money ran out. 3 of the organizations, are not getting fully, funded because they're all similar activities. It's all rental assistance or mortgage assistance, but we wanted to have those organizations, they scored high and we wanted to be able to, award them some money. So that was our logic in doing.
Is there a chance to look at, yep, details? Good. Motion then. Debbie? Good. Great. Sorry, okay.
Black eye.
Okay. Okay, motion by Debbie, second by Steve, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carried, thank you. Number 12, leave a roll, getting there. Consideration of possible action on a substantial amendment to the 2023 action plan, annual action plan to reallocate $260,000 of home improvement loan program funding to infrastructure and park improvements in CDBG areas. Wow.
Yeah.
All right.
This is me. Yeah, in 2023, we allocated our CDBG funds to home improvement loan program. NeighborWorks does manage that program for us. The money is not moving as fast as we need it to move because we have federal regulations on timeliness of spending this money. And it's not a lack of them. They're pushing the program, but contractors, we have a small list of contractors. There's only so many homes that can be rehabbed in a timely manner. So we're requesting to move some of that funding, $260,000 from that budget line item to infrastructure and park improvements. The park department is looking to have some park improvements done at Bay Beach. They can spend the money in the time that we need to have it spent. So staff is recommending that we transfer those funds to the new activity. There will still be home improvement loan money out there, so it's not depleting their that budget amount, but we're just taking some of it away to get the money spent into the community.
Does some of this go to revolving loan fund at all? These funds? Because
These funds, yeah, the CDBG does do the revolving loan fund, yes. They are out of funds. They have a small portion. Their budget does revolve. So on a monthly basis, as the payments come in, there is money going back into that as well.
questions, comments in regard to the recommendation? Sure, Mr. Park, so spend the money wisely.
Mr. Parks.
Mr. Park. All right.
I move to, reallocate $260,000. Home improvement loan funding to, infrastructure.
Yeah, please.
My firm does a fair amount of parks. Dan, none of this stuff's ringing a bell, but if I need to abstain from this, because you're calling me afterwards, nope, good. Maybe you can say no, I just You might want to abstain because we might have to do some,
We don't have a quorum.
That make a mess, that make more.
okay. Then I would say that we will not be using PSA services.
No, thanks.
It would be small. Understood. Well, then I think I can.
Second?
Second.
Okay. For the motion and second, questions or comments? If not, all in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. 13, consideration of possible action on the award of CDBG contract CD 24-01 Farland Park site redevelopment phase 1 to no qualified bidder, Vinton. Okay, and that is Krista again.
Yeah, that's me. We allocated CDBG funds to Farland Park improvements, DPW, and parks, along with parks. Bid out the improvements over there, and three bids came in. So we're requesting that you would approve the low qualified bidder, which is Vincent.
Okay.
Number two.
Questions or comments in regard to the recommendation?
Move to approve.
Kathy? Second. Second, Debbie. Questions or comments? If not, all those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. 14, I can't believe we got getting there. All right, thank you. Consideration of possible action to approve the emergency repairs at the KI Convention Center, HVAC system for $29,864. Cheryl.
So right after our last meeting, our HVAC systems went down in KI. So in working with our public works department, our engineering department, something to this project. I authorized proceeding with repairs because they had to order the materials and stuff.
Yeah.
This time. So it has since been repaired, so I'm just coming back to ask. Since I've already authorized it, if you would be so kind as. That'd be our idea.
Motion by Kathy,
Second.
second by Steve. Second the comments, yeah, right. All in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion carried, thank you. Finance, I have any questions on the in regard to finance report registered? Cheryl, director's report, please.
You know, we did not, we were a little busy for the argument meeting,
Yeah.
so we didn't
Guys,
do
lots
your
of track.
tracker.
That's
But I did want to let you know though, that we were notified by, the divers at Kimberly North Mineral that they are no longer interested in the site. The investors have, I think, what they said to me was they had concern about the new project, and there might be a saturation of units, but. That being said, we have had, of course, people call us on that site. So we are working actually with a couple of developers right now. So in June, our hopes is to come back with a termination agreement on that site, and then possibly, somewhere else for planning options.
It's by the gas station, right? That's-
It's the old farmer's market, across from the
Okay.
field.
Got it.
Right, so disappointed, but, you know, it's not like kind of moving.
Who's going to the JVs?
Well, that's Foreman Company, this was actually Ted.
Oh, okay.
Well, it started out.
I'm gonna say it started.
It started as.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like old, like old farmers.
I said the old boss. It's still parking lot.
That's how we refer to things around.
I remember when. Finally.
Real quick, Jeff, Leon, or Brooke?
I'm good. A lot happened today. Congratulations, and thank you.
Absolutely, staff, really been working, you guys working hard, I really appreciate that, and our committee, I apologize for the length we got, the bottom line is a lot of things done.
Yes.
And our next meeting, is June 11th, motion to adjourn, please.
Motion to adjourn.
Please, yeah, please. I think Kathy, all the clear, saying aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned.